Hello, everyone. This is your friendly neighborhood podcast. I'm Kyle Swope. This is our very first story time mini episode. So thank you guys all for tuning in. It means a lot to me. In this series, as I mentioned previously in our State of the Podcast episode, I am going to just be telling a story about something that happened in my life, something that obviously is on topic with superheroes and stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Again, just a short story. And today the story is going to be why I stopped watching the CW Flash show. So it's going to get really interesting, and I'm sort of going to tie the other CW shows into this as well. So let's start way at the beginning. So back in, I was in like late middle school, so maybe it was like 8th grade, I believe. I made a friend who's one of my like best friends right now. His name is Brian. And Brian he appreciates comic book superheroes, all that good stuff. So, we had a lot in common. And he recommended, because he was watching Arrow, the CW show Arrow, as I'm sure you're aware. And I just kind of thought to myself, I might check it out. And then a little while later, it was in the summer, I remember, I started watching it and I get hooked, like really hooked. It was on Netflix. Actually, I think it still is on Netflix. I'm not entirely sure about that. But yeah, I was watching it on Netflix. It was really fun. I got hooked. First 2 seasons of Arrow, still to this day, so good. I love seasons 1 and 2 of Arrow. This was before season 3 came out as well, is when I sort of started. But in season 2, as some of you guys might remember, there was 2 episodes where Grant Gustin as Barry Allen came in, and it was kind of awesome because they were kind of setting up the Flash show. I knew that they were doing that as I was watching this, and I'm like, this makes so much sense. And I believe the Flash season 1 was currently airing, I think, or it was just finished. Yeah, it would have been just finished. So the Flash season 1 had just finished. This is before it came on Netflix. And I was watching Arrow season 2 because Arrow season 3 would have just finished as well. And it wasn't until the next fall that they were to come on Netflix. So I was watching them. I was enjoying that. And I was really hyped for the Flash show because I heard a lot of people say good things about it. So I was really hyped for it. And so I watch Arrow. Flash comes on Netflix with Arrow season 3. Watch them both. And it's fantastic. I love both those shows. Really good. Now, Arrow season 3, that might be another conversation for later. But in general, Arrow just kind of went downhill after season 2, unfortunately. But the Flash season 1 was fantastic, and I really liked it. It was very well written. The story was really good. The only thing to complain about, and now let me put it like this: the Flash costume in that show, currently with how the show is, I believe they're on. I want to say they're like season 8, I think, at the time of this recording. That costume is amazing, but it took a lot of trial and error to get there. Now, when I was like 14, it didn't matter to me, really. I thought the Flash costume was awesome. In retrospective, I think the season 1 Flash costume was pretty bad, not going to lie. But anyways, I digress. But season 1, story-wise, was awesome, okay? And then I watch it, I'm really excited, I like where everything's going, and then season 2 comes along, and season 2 isn't bad, it's just not quite as good, if that makes any sense. So I'm watching season 2, and I'm like, yeah, that was decent. And then season 3 comes along, and let me tell you, this is where things really start to go downhill. So if you ever watch the show in season 3, you know that the villain is Savitar, okay? And I'm going to kind of set the scene for you to kind of explain what's going on. Spoilers, obviously. If you ever intend on watching the show, you might want to stop this episode right now because I'm about to spoil a lot of stuff. So in season 3, what happened was Savitar was the villain. I forget where he came from. I don't remember, but he just kind of shows up, if I remember correctly. And, he starts going on this big rant about, being powerful. I am the future Flash and all this crazy stuff. And then the team at Star Labs, they kind of do some digging to find out, like, he's the first speedster and stuff. And that in the future, this is a few episodes in, they find out in the future that Savitar kills Iris, okay? Who, if you haven't watched the show, Iris is the girlfriend, love interest of Barry Allen, the Flash, okay? So that's a pretty big deal. So a lot of the episode was dedicated to stopping Savitar from killing Iris. And that's sort of what takes the show to its finale, I guess. That's sort of like the main story plot. And season 3 had the musical episode, which contrary to a lot of people, I actually enjoyed it, but I still thought it could be better. But I digress. Season 3 of The Flash, though, they had that. And as I was watching it with my friends, because, I had a good group of friends, we were talking and stuff, and we were like, there's a lot of things that we think we could figure out already. So my one friend, in the season, we see, I think it was H.R. Wells, one of the Harrison Wells versions of Harrison Wells. He's kind of dumb, but not like stupid. He's just not as smart as the other Harrison Wells. He has this little pen that cloaks his face because, Harrison Wells is known as like the Reverse Flash now, so he's like bad. So he uses it to cloak his face so that he can, go around and do stuff. And my friend figured out, he's like, well, if he can cloak himself, then could he cloak someone else into being Iris so that the person being killed isn't actually Iris? We were like, that's an interesting theory. So then, as the season's going on, I kind of keep that in mind. And then I start thinking and putting things together, okay? So Savitar calls himself the Future Flash, okay? Not the Future Flash. He says, I am the Future Flash. And breaking it down grammatically, because he says it and doesn't like write it or type it anywhere, he's saying not I am the future, Flash. He's saying I am the Future Flash. So there's that, plus the previous knowledge they gave us in episode 1 about him being the first speedster. I'm like, wait a minute. If we look just in the context of what we know from the show so far, the future speedster is Barry Allen, right? And then out of nowhere, well, not really out of nowhere. They kind of build to it. But either way, they get to revealing that Savitar is a, what are they called? Time remnant, I think, is the word I'm looking for, of Barry Allen. And so I'm like, I totally called that, like, episodes in advance. And then we get to the finale, and H.R. Wells is the one who gets killed in place of Iris because of his cloaking pen. And so we're like, what the heck? That was really lame. And the whole season just revolved around those, like, 2 factors. And I was like, that was, like, so dumb. I didn't like the writing at all in season 3. It was not very good, if you ask me. Well, anyway, so then I go on to season 4. I start watching it, and I'm just like, it's okay. But I started getting busy, at this time. So if I was about 14 in season 1, then about 2 years later, I was about, like, 16 or so. And so, with high school and things, I was involved in a lot of extracurricular stuff, if you want to put it like that. So I got really busy, and I just kind of thought to myself as I was watching The Flash, like, I don't have time for subpar writing and stuff. So I still followed it through season 4, but I didn't, like, watch it, like, start to finish or anything. Overall, I was just really disappointed with it. And that's just kind of how it progressed to stopping. I will say, the crossovers were pretty nice. The last crossover I watched, though, was Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I was disappointed by, not going to lie. Because I kept hearing... Well, there was one thing I liked about Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was, the guy that plays the Atom, whose name's escaping me right now. But him coming back as Superman, I thought was fantastic, because he played Superman in Superman Returns. So that was cool. I really liked that aspect. But anyways, yeah. Overall, season 3 kind of killed The Flash for me. I just couldn't get back into it, and I've seen a lot of clips from what they're doing nowadays, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is terrible. Like, The Flash and the Reverse Flash and Godspeed all fighting with lightning-based lightsabers or whatever, and I saw Impulse come in with, like, these lightning construct throwing stars, and I'm like, what are we doing? This is almost getting like Power Rangers-esque. And like, Power Rangers is good in the context of Power Rangers, but not in context of The Flash. So, it was just, yeah. Overall, I'm personally done watching The Flash. If you guys still enjoy it, by all means, go right ahead. You just wouldn't catch me watching it anytime soon. But anyways, there's your story, everybody. I'm Kyle Swope. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Friendly Neighborhood Podcast Storytime. You can follow us on Instagram at Friendly Neighbor Pod. The Spider-Man theme was composed by Bob Harris and covered by Jacob Swope for this episode. The Friendly Neighborhood Podcast is a Lumberjack Media production. I'll catch you guys later. God bless you. God bless America.